How's the hair? Okay.
Dynamite. Can we ask some dumb questions? Yeah,
Questions,
oh. Can you close that door, Mike? Sorry, man. A baby? Yeah.
We could talk about raising taxes with that in the background.
All right, so Jerrod, I'll ask you this question, but you guys can both jump in.
Okay.
And like I said, just remember. But yeah, let's talk about last night and the event in Swift Current and from your perspective, how you think it went.
I think the event in Swift Current last night was a huge success. There's been so many people reaching out that were really impacted by the documentary. I think there's a lot of folks that really enjoyed the opportunity to see it. It's deep material, but something that I think was important for people to see. And as we talked about, I think last night was everything. It was a night for a community to heal, a night for a community to kind of come together and rally around the concepts that we're working towards moving forward, which is being a leader in the discussion of abuse and trying to raise prevention.
Yeah, and Sheldon, how about that for you, coming back to Swift Current, showing the documentary Swift Current and getting that kind of reaction from 600 locals?
Yeah, well, it's not something you think is ever going to happen in your lifetime, but and not that I ever dreamt about doing something like that as a kid, but you know what, I think it was very special. You know what, we were figuring it out last night, just in our heads, just kind of talking about the magnitude of the letter that Jerrod had written on behalf of the city and the community of Swift Current, and the event, and how the community came out, and 2 sold out events around probably one of the most difficult subjects to talk about in society, and I think it rivals up there with for this city with the Memorial Cup win, as far as being able to be in a memorable day for many people, and I think that it will go down as one of those days, and and I think what it does is gives this city the opportunity to be leaders and embrace change, and I think that that's important.
Guys, there's probably going to be a few people that may have been living under the rock the past week, or maybe were on a hot holiday somewhere that weren't there last night and missed that event, and haven't had a chance to crack open the Globe and Mail and read that piece that you wrote, Jerrod. What would you say to those people? People who missed the event last night and are kind of late to the party on this one.
You know what, I think the good thing about the impact that this week has had on our community is I don't think we need to say anything. I think this is something from here on in that I think the initiative Safe Places is going to take hold, and I think it's going to be a great partnership between the city and all of the the partner organizations and individuals that should step up. I think this is going to be something that the community is going to embrace, so I don't think there's anything that we have to say.
Well, and I think it's I think that it's about walking the walk, right? I think with stuff like this and issues like this, and when you make an announcement like that, you gotta take action. You got to do the work. You got to walk the walk. It's got to be more than just talking about it, right? And I think that the city will embrace that, and what I've seen in the meetings that we've had, and that separates the the leader from the pack, and I think that what I saw yesterday is people wanted, they want to do it, they want to move forward and have change. So that's a good thing. You don't see that often in communities, and especially embracing it such as that last night.
Yeah, and going forward, and it was talked about a lot today in various media outlets about the Swift Current becoming a leader now, not just here and not just in the province, but nationwide as well, guys.
You know what, I think that's what I'm the most excited for and the most proud about for my community is I think this week and this weekend we really turned the page of being a community that it's almost like that abused dog a little bit, where you're kind of backing away all the time. For so long we haven't wanted to talk about Graham James or Sheldon Kennedy or the topic of abuse, because it was just that cloud that that wouldn't go away, and I think we close that chapter and we move forward as a community that we're ready to talk about it, we're ready to take on the issue and do all we can to support these guys that are doing such a great job with the great work, standing up for children and standing up against abuse.
Well, as an outsider, I don't know another community that's had a situation as high profile in this country as the Graham James case, that's in a better position to be leaders in this area. And I know after the breakfast and every time you come here or signing autographs in the hometown hockey line, people tell you their stories. You get disclosure after disclosure after disclosure. So the reality is this is and should be a priority in this town, and I see that commitment, and that to me I think will go a long way, and you'll see the benefits of that for any investment that you make in your children. The long-term return, I believe it's 7 to 1 for every dollar you spend on early childhood development. You get 7 in return, and it'll pay off in the long haul for sure.
Jerrod, with the launch of this new initiative in the city, what's it going to look like now for people who work with children? And if you can, I know a lot of this is still the planning stage.
Yeah.
Take us through from what you know right now of the whole youth certification and becoming a youth certified process.
Well, there's really two parts of it. The first part is that gap where nothing exists right now, and that's the gap that exists between day homes or music teachers or personal trainers, and that's really kind of where the whole idea came from, of course, was with what happened last winter, and that's going to be one that I think is really going to be community driven. I think we're going to see parents demand that if their kids are going to be working with an individual, whether it's be for coaching or music lessons or what have it, that they're going to want that certification. So individuals in that area they'll just work with the city. It'll be getting your criminal background check done, going through our link with the Respect Group in the City of Swift Current to get your Respect training done, and once you've got that, you'll be youth certified within the City of Swift Current. And I think the second part about it is really working with our organizations that offer youth programming, the minor hockeys, the minor soccers and footballs, to bring them all up to a common standard of screening and education for their volunteers. And I think we'll all be at the highest standard rather than having a bunch of different levels. And I think it's great that we'll all be at that highest standard. And I think the great thing is there isn't a volunteer that's going to say it's cumbersome or too much work. I think it's actually going to make the process easier, which is, that's a double win.
Well, there was a question asked last night, and I went home and did a little bit of digging, and I know the question, and sometimes if convicted sex offenders like to get their charge lessened from sexual assault to common assault, and I think that I understand that one now. So I think that for me, whenever we have conversations and questions are brought up, it makes me dig a little bit deeper and start finding out a little bit about, okay, what about that piece? And, to me, we'll look into that. I know that on our end, we'll find out what hockey's procedure is with that. But, I just think what it does is create a confidence. If we look at the way people that hurt children operate in society, they operate on society's ignorance and indifference. The more that we can give the confidence and give a language and empower the bystander through training, do our due diligence with a background check. I think sometimes the background checks are a false sense of security. You catch very few, but they need to be a part of it. But I think the key piece to this is the training and education. And, if you look at our business world, how much training do we have to do, and ongoing professional development training do we have to do on an ongoing basis to make ourselves better? Well, why wouldn't that be the same way with the way that we work with kids? There's nothing there, and it seems to be we have to fight to get it there. But, and that's the leadership I think that can be shown from this city, is that, we be embraced, you create that standard, and what happens within the community becomes a priority. you know, I know that in hockey, when we started doing this stuff with Hockey Canada, it was like everybody used to point to hockey and say, oh, that's a hockey problem. That's a hockey problem. And we know that it's not just a hockey problem, it's a societal problem. And, you know, now this type of training has become a recruitment and a retention and a recruitment tool for that organization because they've made it a priority. And I think it is something that the Swift Current, the city of Swift Current can look at as doing as well, as priding themselves on, you know, creating the safest community for our kids, and why not, you know? And it doesn't happen overnight, it takes time, but I think that should be a goal that's strive for it on a yearly basis, daily basis.
You know, Sheldon, after last night, I imagine ever since you left Swift Current when your playing days were over in 1989, I imagine, you know, passing through the city, there were certain feelings and emotions that were conjured up. After last night, how is it going to be different the next time you drive through Swift Current?
Well, I think, you know, my friend Wayne, who's been with me on my visits to Swift for the last 20 years, we were trying to figure out and understand, you know, the difference. What's different, and you know, and I think, you know, Jerrod and I have batted this back and forth, and you know, and I think the thing that's different is that we've actually communicated it together. The city's communicated one way, and I've communicated back the other way, and there's a clear understanding of the way we both feel about this stuff. And I think it's exactly what we're trying to educate on. We're trying to educate about communication, and I think that you know, it's almost like the air has been let out of the balloon, and there was a sense from yesterday morning, just a sense of, I don't know what, you know, how to really describe it.